So, my second last interview in Switzerland.
Oh.
It's only Winigma in Basel left on Sunday, and you,
Good.
Matong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Les Vins.
I'm happy for you. It's the end of your Swiss voyage.
My Swiss voyage, I can tell you.
you
So
can-
the first voyage was like Bielersee, Lac Le Mans, Valais, Graubünden, and now the second one was Ticino, Graubünden, and now Lake Neuchâtel.
Yeah. So you saw the diversity of this country.
I have seen everything in Switzerland.
It's really incredible what you can see in Switzerland. I think we are very pleased to live here, and yeah, it's a chance, really.
It's a privilege.
Privilege, yes. And in Neuchâtel, it's a small region on a lake, Lake Neuchâtel.
Mm. Behind us, beautiful. We
Yes.
placed it there.
A small town, small city, sorry, Neuchâtel, and we are just 10 kilometers on the west of this city. A small village called Cortaillod, and with a lot of vines there.
Mm.
And yes, pretty small but beautiful.
When I came here, I called it like pretty much like idyllic. It reminds a lot of beautiful French countryside towns from the architecture, very French influence, right? With wines and a beautiful lake, just in Switzerland.
Yeah, small but beautiful, and with a lot of history. Also, you have some pretty old wineries in small village. With a lot of agriculture and viticulture. And of course then you have the industrial cities, but yeah, near the Alps you have some people with a strong character living in the mountains and near the lakes, and that makes something crazy here in Switzerland.
It's a very beautiful combination, and yeah, I mean your own winery, Les Vins Porret, like soon 175 years, right?
Yes.
But before we dive into that and your style, let's start with the introduction questions first and foremost. So, if you wouldn't be a winemaker, first question, what would you do in your life?
I think I will go in a kitchen. So yeah, I'm really also passionate with cooking and serving people on a table, and yeah, just meet to just be with some people and share this moment. And I'm not really I just love to cook also, and that comes with wine, of course. But yeah, I have yeah, that's one of my hobbies. So
one of your passions too. I love
passions
it.
too.
But then I think we have to talk about something else, because when we then talk about you becoming a winemaker, I mean, you studied something totally different first, right?
You're right, Jan. I started in the IT, so I studied commercial and IT, and then I worked during 1 year in an office.
1 year.
1 year was enough for me. It was very funny, but I understood that was not for me really. I had to be in the nature, and also I had the chance to have a family estate.
You had to come back to this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, difficult. So, okay, then you decided to become a winemaker. You did several like apprenticeship first, your vigneron apprenticeship, then you studied a bachelor in enology.
Yeah.
If you look back now, you're 36, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you look back at these like years of winemaking, inspiration, who inspired you and your style?
Yeah, I have two names. Because I started really as an apprentice quite as a kid. You are 18, 17 years old, and you go in the vineyard, and that was in Valais, in the Valais. so south of Switzerland, by Philippe Constantin, Cave Saint-Philippe, and he's the most serious winemaker that I know, and I really learned a lot. It was for me maybe he gave me a direction, incredible, with a lot of passion and too serious for me. But it was really really important for me at this stage of your life, and yeah. So I would say Philippe, very inspiring, and Claude in Burgundy. So after my study in enology, I work in Burgundy, and I discovered another world. It's really totally different as what we have in Switzerland. It's yeah, the approach of the vinification is totally different, and for me it was very inspiring because I love Pinot Noir. And of course, when you work in Burgundy, you learn some one of the aspects of this great variety.
So those are, so to say, the two like inspirations, the two experiences where you say they really formed you. Love it. And Pinot Noir, we are going to taste something later. Looking forward to it. Wonderful. Third question for you, the mean one. You and your personality as a bottle of wine. What are we opening?
I would say non-filtré.
Non-filtré.
And non-filtré is unfiltered. An unfiltered wine. Because I'm, just maybe not without no filter, but just for me near the nature. And so you can't control it, so just be natural, and I'm happy when I'm in the nature, near the diversity we have here on this estate. So I would say this wine is for me, represents that for me, the being in the nature. So living the things, laisser les choses faire. So living the things going. Leaving the things going a bit, and in this wine I try to make it like that.
I'm looking forward to taste it in a second. Good bridge to talking about nature. I mean, you work organic. We can talk about all this like in more detail a bit later, but first, if I just say nature, and you tell me what comes to your mind.
Nature?
Yeah.
It's a big question for me, because that's what I every day reflects on. And I would say today, keep the biodiversity.
Keep the biodiversity.
Yeah. I'm very sensitive to this point, and I've been on the winery for 10 years, and that's really one big point that I tried to implement. I understood how important it is, really, and what we have to be careful. And today, you say nature, I would say keep this biodiversity alive.
I love it. Also, like something that I totally sign under, and I think like everybody who has been at vineyards where you look into biodiversity, you look into permaculture, you look into vitiforestry. I mean, it is just, and we talked a lot about in the vineyard about disease management, about copper, that you actually, copper sulfide, that you're actually nearly not using it all anymore, right?
Trying
really talking about the resilience of the vineyard, right? And how to keep that up. But with that being said, can you maybe briefly, before we go into this debate and taste some wine, introduce your estate to us? Who is Les Vins Porret?
Yes, it's a family estate grown in 1858. I work with Sophie, my sister, today. So we work together on this family estate as the 6th generation of the family to take this winery further. We have only 6 variety, but we make 13 wines. We are organic certified, and we are mainly focused on Pinot Noir, Chasselas, Chardonnay.
Beautiful. And you have 7 hectares today?
7 hectares
7
today.
hectares. Yeah.
Say.
I think we should get something in the glass, right? I mean, if we are
You're right.
Chasselas Non-Filtré is the first one you brought, right?
Yes.
So that is we're drinking yourself, so to say.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That is fairly unusual, isn't it? There is not so many. I mean, Chasselas is this very typical, like Swiss grape variety. I want to say nearly the Swiss signature grape variety, but unfiltered. I mean, I only know so far one other winemaker, Nick Bösiger from Frauenkopf, who also has he also presented the non-filtré.
Cool.
But otherwise, I have not seen it that often.
Yes, because the Chasselas, it's very traditional in Switzerland. It's the main white variety, and it's produced from Geneva, Valais, and to Neuchâtel. Vaud also, there's a lot of Chasselas. And these wines are known as terroir wines because it's really expressed in a very different way where it grows. So you have terroir wines that are known today, but the styles of these wines are very classical also, very subtle, fine. And what we wanted to make with an unfiltered Chasselas is to give another expression, another freshness, really to discover this low alcohol variety in another way. And that's why we are making with this wine. We label it also
in the other way around.
Yeah. Just because you don't have to, it's just because you...
People have to know that they have to shake it a bit, right?
Don't forget to shake it slowly before opening, because you have the lees in the wine. It's not filtered, it comes directly from the barrel.
I really like this idea of putting the label the other way around and then giving people like this guidance in a way that they have to shake it a little bit. Yeah, and 11.5% alcohol, you already said it's a low alcoholic variety, the Chasselas. Looking forward, I'm excited. So how many bottles do you produce of that?
It's 5,000 bottles.
5,000 of the non-filtré, okay. That's, and who is the customer for that?
I would say there's two main category. We have a lot of young people that drink it in the summer, in restaurants also in the city here in Switzerland, and also the other part for me is very local, because the story behind this wine, it's not I have to find a word, because in mode,
it's not in style, or in fashion, not in fashion.
It's not a fashion wine, as you can say maybe now orange or nature, but it's not. It's not really that, but it's not a fashion wine. It's already more than 40 years that Chasselas Unfiltered is in bottle in our region. So it's becoming quite a tradition here in this Swiss region. So our customers are also just the people around us. No wonder the age or the category of people.
Wonderful.
It's really a tradition here in Neuchâtel, and the non-filtré is in the middle.
Yeah.
So let's try it.
I'm excited already. Yeah, clearly unfiltered. I mean, nothing to debate about that, right? You would say, like in WACT, you would now say the wine is not clear.
Yes.
It's so lovely, like what kind of substance you get to Chasselas suddenly, because you do it in an unfiltered style, right? I mean, every time I taste an unfiltered Chasselas, I mean, as you said, Chasselas is a little bit, it's a big wine in Switzerland. You produce a lot of Chasselas. There's a lot of like what we call the lunch wine. Yeah, the boring, let's say, 8 to 10 Swiss francs, like steel tank driven.
Yeah,
Chasselas.
easy to drink. There's the tradition here of aperitif,
Apero, yeah.
and you drink Chasselas. But what I should say also for this wine, that's we macerate a bit the grape to have that that other style of this variety.
Because
and,
I was just about to say when I had the sip, I mean, there are tannins in there, definitely. There's a tannic back structure, right? Which really gives it like beautiful grip and texture, actually.
Exactly.
How long is the maceration?
It's 10 days.
10 days, okay, that's fairly long.
Not the whole part of the grapes.
Okay.
And yeah, I would say maybe in a classical Chasselas, that's what's missing sometimes. This longness.
Texture and structure and
structure
long finish.
And long finish. So we work on that, and yeah, I should say it's now we have classical Chasselas and unfiltered Chasselas, and yeah, just very different.
But that is definitely something you will present in January at the Cool Climate Summit.
Yes.
I mean, it fits to the Scandinavian market like perfectly in this style. What I really like about it, I mean, you have a very nice fruit profile here from the aromatics. It's very nice in the citric and the yellow apple, yellow pear part, a little bit of quince. But it's very subtle. What really comes out for me is some nice malolactic touch, which is really beautiful, gives it the lease, really gives it some backbone and support. And it's so mineral and salty, actually, in this regard, which is, I mean, I can totally see why young people like that style of wine, because it's really fun to drink. It's really energizing. It's really electric, as you say, just like you had a summer party here, right? Like this weekend. I can imagine that like there were a lot of these bottles opened.
That was the main one. That was the main wine. Clear.
Speaking of young people, so you're also part of the Vignerons Jeunes du Suisse, the Jungwinzervereinigung or the Young Winemakers Association. Now we get some beautiful like late summer, early autumn weather here. Let's see if we're getting wet in a second.
Yeah.
How is that community growing at the moment? I mean, the young winemakers, we have lots of them coming to Copenhagen. You have been one of the early members, right?
Yeah. It's an incredible community because in Switzerland we have very different region and very different wine styles, so we can come together, and with 10-15 people you will have really 10 very different personality and also the wine styles. So it was really from the beginning of this association, it was really always the objective to keep 1 or 2 people of each Switzerland region and to grow together. So we exchange a lot on the problems we have in our wines, or just have parties together. And yeah, being together with all these particularities from each region and each person is very, very cool for us, very fun.
So we just had to quickly like flee inside, because I mean that's also like part of what is very typical here, right? I mean, I realized that last time I was at Bielersee, once you see it coming from the Jura mountains, it's really coming fast and heavy, right?
That's why I'm just looking outside this way. I'm looking at that, Jan, but also outside, because it comes from the west and from the north, from the Jura here. When the storms are coming, and it's part of our job, dealing with the storms, the sun, the rain, but also it can help you. And the region here on the Neuchâtel lakes has a cold wind that comes also from Jura. At the end of the day, in the summer, you have this cold wine. It's called le Joran, and it's totally ideal for the Pinot Noir, because the Pinot Noir grapes like to have cold nights. And it's pretty hot also in the summer here, but the temperature goes down in the evening and during the night, and that's very important to have the finesse of the Pinot Noir.
Yes, totally. And I think this is something also like we realized when tasting grapes outside in the vineyard, especially the Chardonnay grapes, for example, you really could feel like, yeah, ready to harvest, but you still have like this great acidity structure, right? And you keep it now, which makes actually this wine growing region here, I think, very special. Another positive thing that we moved inside. We can talk about this picture here in the background, because I found it so funny when I saw it when coming in. So we are standing on top of your maceration vessels, right?
Yes, you're right. That's it. Ready. And we are working with these tanks in the soils in our cellar since 1860.
Yeah.
And we use it still today. So we put all the grapes of the Pinot Noir in these tanks. And it ferments there during 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
And that's something very historical by us, and we keep making that. And I find it very important to keep this tradition in our wines, and that gives the styles of our Pinot.
But I love it's such a typical like winemaker thing. Like you have also like your sales room here, and you empty it all, you use it for fermentation for 3 weeks, then you clean it all like very meticulously, and then you put everything back here, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, this is how you do it.
Yes. And we used to play a lot Tetris when we were young, but also today.
Also today, still. No, I love it. Matong, let's talk about organic farming. I mean, very important for you, as you said. I mean, there's really some stuff coming down there now. It's really so talking about nature and about weather and about organic farming. Your father started working organic. What did he say in 1992? Is that correct?
Yes, it was not completely certified.
Yeah,
but it was in these years. 1990, 92.
Yeah,
and the main thing was how to keep the soil healthy and just not to give some chemicals at these days.
Which is very progressive for the time. What very much on the forefront of being organic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was already a movement in the country. To grow up the quality of the wines, and also how to farm.
Beautiful.
And now, since 2021, we are certified organic.
And this is the Bio Suisse certification? Or?
It's not Bio Suisse, but it's Bio just certified. It's not in a private label. Bio Suisse is a private label.
It's a private label. Okay, I didn't know that.
So it's just a national label from our state. You can have both.
Okay.
And the certification was just the last point for me. All the job was made before. The soils we have today are certified organic, but you cannot just put it on paper and say it's organic. You have to work it the good way a long time ago, because it's all about the cycles in the soils, the microbiology, and all the insects, what lives there, and it doesn't change in 2 or 3 years. So it has to be there before and for a long time. So that's just not a certification on the paper. It's really something you have to
think long term.
Think long term.
Yeah. And you have to live it. I mean, I think if you don't live organic viticulture, then it's very difficult just to do it for commercial purposes, right? You have to really be in it. Good, all right. That was a kind of interruption, I want to say. Little hailstorm.
And was drawn at the beginning of the 20th century. It tells us about the story of a winery.
I like it that you keep it in that regard, but nonetheless, you also made the labels fairly modern, right? I mean, it's also something
exactly.
Not every winemaker succeeds in. Let's say like this, keeping the tradition, but also having a modern look.
Yeah.
And this is your 100% whole bunch project.
Not this one.
Not this one. Okay, good. Then introduce this Pinot. Then introduce this Pinot to us.
Yeah, it's our Pinot. We work also on whole cluster Pinot Noir, and I love also to use it in this Pinot Noir. It's more classical, maybe a little bit, but I used to use whole cluster also on this wine when it's very ripe. Like in 2020 and 22. So a part of this wine can be also fermented with whole cluster.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a Pinot Noir in the glass. I mean, we see it in the color.
It's very important for me to have the right color of the Pinot Noir, not to be too dark. It's so elegant Pinot Noir, so it has to be real.
And you said earlier to me in the cellar that the classic style of Neuchâtel Pinot Noir is actually a fairly fruity and straightforward style, right?
Yes, but also with a structure. So I would say the style was just a real Pinot with something very puristic, but with no oak notes, no wood notes. So this wine is aged 12 months in big barrels, but with no new oak.
And big barrels is your 300-liter barrels or the big ones we saw in the cellar?
Big ones, yeah.
It's the big ones. Okay, so
2,000 liters.
2,000 liters.
Yeah, with it can be used more than 100 years.
Yeah,
and that's the tradition here.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, it's very nice because the fruit is really coming out freshly and nicely, right? Lots of cherries, a lot of raspberries, like unripe strawberries, really beautiful hint of florality. But you definitely have not like any oak touch. It nearly seems like, I want to say it seems like a little bit carbonic in the nose even. Also it's like so fresh and acidity driven that you have a little bit the expectation now something fizzy comes to your mouth, but then you have a total structure bomb here, right? I mean, it's depth, it's complexity, it's tannins, it's really nice acidity actually. I mean, that is very well described how you just like put it, and really examples what you just said perfectly in the glass.
What I like in the Pinot is the la longueur, the depths you are, depths you are, not the depths, the depths, the depths you have, the aromas you have in the end, and it must be. We are a bit crazy. We are really looking to be very puristic on this style of wine. Pinot Noir must be like that. It smells Pinot, and it has this vivacity, this freshness in the aromas. But what I like is working on low yields Pinot Noir, so in the vineyards, to have this concentration, and so you don't need new oak to give something more to this wine.
Really, really nice style. You will present this in Copenhagen, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, we see you there in January at the Cool Climate Summit, which I am very happy for, together with all the other like crazy young guys from Switzerland. So I honestly say people should just come to Copenhagen, not only because of our 160 great cool climate producers, but just the 18 producers from Switzerland coming are worth the trip. It's my recommendation. And then there's a lot of like very great things on top. But Martin, if you look a little bit like further ahead than January, what is your, I mean, I can probably say your and Sophie's plan, your sister's plan for the future, for the next 5 years? Where do you see yourself? Where do you see the winery?
Yeah, that's what we are really reflecting, thinking these days. What we will make in the next years, because everything's changing quite quickly now. Also the wine consumption, the market, but I think now we started also 5 years ago to really work on each blocks we have, because there's a lot of characteristic, a lot of specificity and identity in every single vineyards we have, and I think we will work on just showing the diversity and the quality of this of these blocks, of this parcel in our winery. So present wines with more identity and maybe on the same variety, but with just completely different style of wine.
Beautiful.
I would say open the diversity in the mouth also. Don't say it in French.
You can say it in French, okay. But I love it. I love it. Cheering on that, definitely. Cool. So yeah, I like this perspective. And then of course keep up the good organic vineyard work. And
yeah, another very important point for me is continuing to be close to our customer.
Yeah.
Because that's how we work today. I should say I know quite well where all of my bottles are going. And yeah, that's something I want to keep, and knowing the people with which we are working, that's something very important for us.
I would like to cheer on that, on good customer relations and customer care. It's not so typical these days. See you in Copenhagen.
Thank you, Jan. See you.